Yeah, so he starts shouting out, he pretends like he was I'm sorry, gentlemen, you caught me chastising my wife. And they're like, yeah, didn't look like it. She was kicking the shit out of you, dog.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's The Song of Ice and Fire series. As always, I'm your host, Zach. Sitting here next to me is Nate. I could not maintain my laugh throughout that one, looking at you.
You killed me with that one.
That one was, I had to change it up.
So we read A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin.
Right.
And
that's what I said.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Fuck, this is going to be an episode, isn't it?
If you joined us before, thank you for coming back. If you've never been here, we are full spoiler. We like to talk about the entire book series. So, if you've never read them before, you're probably highly likely to get spoiled. This is your warning. Now, if you like that kind of stuff, cool, stick around. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah,
Last episode, we were reading Catelyn 3, Kitty Cat.
Yeah.
She had begged for... Robb returned to River Run. She had begged his forgiveness as he begged hers for getting married. The shit was hitting the fan very quickly. And then Karstark killed a couple kids.
Yeah.
And Robb was forced to discipline him in northern fashion, which meant taking his head, which meant the loss of the Karstark army, which meant the Freys now had more men that were running off as well. And it's a shit show for the northern armies. Kat's very distraught because she knows that she, in a sense, caused it with freeing Jaime Lannister. And yeah, it's all kind of gloom and doom up in the north for the northern armies right now.
But we're not reading Kat this episode. We're reading Jaime this episode. And so last time we left Jaime, he was making his way away downtown, walking fast. No, nothing.
Nope.
Nothing from Zach this time. So he was escaping from River Run with Brienne of Tarth and
Ser Cleos.
Yeah, that little fucking scamp.
They stopped by an inn that was sketchy, and the guy was trying to get them to stay. But
yeah, Sharna's in.
And ran into some Brotherhood Without Manners and managed to
take the correct path.
Intelligently, avert the outlaw path that they were trying to send them down to get robbed, and continued along their way. Just happy as could be, not really, because Jaime's thinking of every chance he can get to free Brienne and be rid of this wench. And so, picking up with Jaime 3, 2 days' ride to either side of the King's Road, they pass through miles of blackened fields and orchards, bridges that were burnt, and the river swollen from all the rain. So, and we had a listener email touch on it as well.
Corey.
In stark contrast to his last chapter, where they were staying in places that were untouched by the war, they are now in the thick of the shit.
Right.
Everything's burnt. Everything's dead. Everything sucks.
Yeah, so he mentions that they hear the wolves howling at night. And I just think that's cool because we do know that Arya's in the area as well. Arya's in the area. That's fun to say. You should try it, listeners. Anyway. And so we also know that the wolves have been following her a bit with, her little visions that she was having.
Yes, and Nymeria is gathering up a wolf pack.
So it's likely Nymeria's wolf pack that Jaime's sitting here listening to at night. But they're traveling through Maidenpool as they see the town is completely deserted and everything is empty but the castle up on the hill, which is still flying the red salmon banner of House. Who the fuck did I write down? I don't know. They were sworn to River Run, though. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. That's the next line.
They don't know if it's occupied or not. It's just that's the last standing spot that's still flying banners as the walls are deserted. Yeah, and it's there's feral dogs running around, and this is also the pool where the pool that gave the town its name. This is where legend says that Florian the Fool first spied Jonquil bathing with her sisters or cousins, and this pool is now so choked with rotting corpses that the water is a sickly green color. There's a lot to read into there.
Yeah, so the biggest, heaviest ties to Jonquil tend to be Sansa.
Right.
Do you have any going?
I mean, that water is fucking poisoned with rotting corpses. I mean, it's Littlefinger. She's surrounded by
feral.
It's a disgusting deal. Yeah, it's not the true story, it's a poisoned disgust. Yeah, absolutely. And then you've also got here the Jaime and Brienne, the comparisons possibly to them and what true knighthood actually is. And yeah, it's a very interesting for them to be coming upon this pool, specifically with the legend it carries. But Jaime, as soon as he sees it... 6
maids in a pool of... I love that he just started, like...
begins singing it.
It's
so dark.
It's very much something that we would do, just out of who we are.
Yeah, you gotta make that joke. You have to, because everybody knows the story. It's their pop culture, and so Jaime is just
singing a meme.
Right, he's just doing the meme of it, and like it's brutal because Brienne is horrified, asks him what the fuck are you what are you doing?
She straight boomers his ass. She's like, what are you?
This to me is one of the more endearing parts of Jaime, where he's very foot and mouth. Like, what else are you supposed to say here? Yes,
funny.
It's tragic and horrible. And he's not even making a joke. He's singing the song. I mean, yeah, he's singing it in jest, but like it's what else are you supposed to do in this situation? So I don't blame him for it, and I love it. But yeah, Brienne's like, be quiet,
and Cleos is like, we don't want to be caught around here because that would not be good.
Yeah, Lord Mooten is sworn to River Run. We don't want to draw him out if he's still there, or any other enemies hiding amongst the rubble. And Jaime asks him, our enemies or hers? Because they're not quite the same. And he has kind of the mind to see how good Brienne is with her sword, which I really like that came up now, because you'll see soon enough here, Sir Jaime. And
yeah, he just kind of insults her and then heads off.
Yeah, she threatens to gag him, and he tells her to unchain his hands, and then tells her that maybe you should take a bath there in that pool, and I'll even wash your back for you. And like, what a fucking dickhead. Yeah. That's where it becomes dickheaded. And then he thinks, of course, of Cersei and how he used to wash her back when they would bathe together as children, because, of course, Cersei is in everything. But Brienne turns and leads them out of Maidenpool, and Green slowly begins to return to the land, and Jaime is glad for that, because the burned lands reminded him too much of Ares. Always Ares. It's always Ares.
So it's interesting that it's at his father's order that those are burned like that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, it makes me wonder what he would do if he was, like, when he's named Warden of the West, or wherever the fuck he's named a Warden of.
Yeah.
He seems to be a fairly decent lord. We see him in the feasts, too, where he's out riding around. Is it feasts or is it dance? Dance Dragons? Where Jaime is bouncing around and, like, he's treating with the different lords and shit.
I think that's feasts, but it could be both.
But yeah, either way, he shows that he's fairly decent at it, and so it's interesting that he thinks, like, one of the people that he despises so harshly, Ares, he's reminded of by actions taken by his father.
Yeah. The comparisons are there. Cleos begins to bitch that Brienne's taking the route of Duskendale, where it'd be much safer to hit the coast and just follow the coast down.
Right, but Jaime knows it'll be faster.
Right,
that's what he would do as well.
Jaime agrees because he's tired of their company, and he tells Cleos as much.
I like that.
And yeah, he says that Lannister or no, Cleos is no Cersei. And then he does a rumination where even as kids, they couldn't bear to be apart. And they had seen, dogs fucking horses and stallions doing their thing, so they had even attempted that as young kiddos. And once they had been caught, and Jaime couldn't recall exactly what they had been doing, but the Lady Joanna was so horrified that she moved Jaime's room across the castle as far in Casterly Rock as he could be from Cersei's, and she also put a guard outside of Cersei's door and told them to never do it again, or she would have to tell their father. Although, then the Jaime comes through where he's like, we didn't have to worry long because Tyrion killed her shortly after that. So, like,
whoopsie. Dang, kid.
Yeah, and at this point, Jaime barely remembers what his mother looked like. So, he does not give a fuck about their mother.
Right,
like,
right.
He is
these days.
Over it as could be. And, yeah, I really like the fact that, again, I think Corey said that Lady Joanna was cock blocking Jaime there. It's fucking hysterical. But yeah, it's dark. Like Jaime, and I think that's why, as you just said, Jaime isn't comparing that to his father, because his father is clearly the parent that he looked up to, and I mean the one he had as well, because his mother died when he was young. But
and fears.
But obviously fears, and for good reason. He burned an entire fucking landscape. But he thinks that maybe Stannis and the Starks had actually helped him, because they had spread the tale of incest. So now there's nothing to hide, and why shouldn't he marry Cersei? Everyone, Septons, gods, had turned their blind eye to the Targaryens doing it, so why couldn't we?
Yeah, he even goes further and says that they could rise above men, rise to the level of gods and Targaryens. He compares gods and Targaryens as if they're on equal footing.
Right.
Holy shit. Yeah. And he
you're putting him on a pedestal, Jaime.
So, even beyond that, like, I know that Tywin has always reached for the stars for House Lannister, but Jaime, it wants godhood.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
Maybe Jaime would be making a deal with some others.
Yeah, that's crazy shit.
Jaime's
cold hands.
It's a bold jump, and yeah, he thinks also that, yeah, sure, it would trouble the shit out of Joffrey's claims, but it was swords that had won the Iron Throne for Robert. They could certainly help Joff keep it. And so he had also decided that he would return Sansa. And the younger girl, if she could be found. Just the very notion of keeping faith when they all expected betrayal amused him deeply.
Is that it?
I think that's what he's telling himself at this moment,
absolutely.
and so that's what makes it. But I think if Jaime, and he's about to have his hubris moment anyway with the hand. Yeah, I think he's trying to retain some shred of honor. He isn't this Kingslayer. He hates that moniker, and so. Yeah, I do think that deep down, it is a little bit of, like, amusement, but it's also like, no, fuck you. You're expecting me to betray you. Like, I can return your children. Like, a deal's a deal type thing.
Yeah, I definitely think that he just sat in a prison for fucking a year and a half and then was released, and now he's going to have his hand cut off. Like, it's absolutely, he's finally hitting this, like, especially after he's heading home. Like, he's like, yeah, I made it. I lived these 18 months. I'm the fucking Kingslayer, yo.
Yeah.
Wubba-lubba-dub-dub and all that shit. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
They're passing by a wheat field and a lone stone wall when Jaime hears a fucking twang of a bow and immediately shouts for them all to get down. The arrow takes his horse in the rump, and other shafts begin hissing past. Cleos lurched from his saddle, his leg twisted in the stirrup, and his horse bolted. And Cleos got dragged, his head bouncing against the ground. And his horse goes. Brienne, still a horse, had an arrow in her back and in her leg, but seemed not to notice. And Jaime calls the archer's location out to her, and then calls out at them and charges them. And Brienne's right behind him, screaming, even fall and Tarth. And the bowman Tarth. And the bowman broke and ran, melting back into the woods. And Brienne's like, yeah, why'd you charge? And Jaime's like, because bowmen suck. And
it's a coward's weapon.
That's what they do.
He said it in the last chapter.
Yeah, right.
When
he detests bowmen. Jaime hates fucking archers. He hates them. And so, yeah, they're cowards.
He's like, fuck you, I'm coming for you right now.
And Jaime wasn't armed. That's the big deal of it. But, I mean, it is reckless as fuck. Like, you are charging headfirst at some arrows. So it is a pretty ballsy move to do. But he says... Well,
just in retrospect, think if that was Lem. And not random right. Like, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be taken the fuck out.
He points out the arrows in her and says, you should let me tend them. And she says, you? And he's like, well, I don't think Cleos is going to be doing it. And they go and find him, still tangled in his stirrup. And it was the ground. He had an arrow in his arm and his chest, but it was the ground that had done for him. His head was mushy and soft under Jaime's hand as he just...
Lovely.
Yeah. And Jaime immediately wants his clothes and his horse. And Brienne's like, yo, he's your cousin. And he's like, yeah, was, but, like, he did now, so.
Says, now get these shackles off because I'm taking that sword, too.
I want the sword as well. And Brienne says, like, nah. And he's like, well, what am I going to do if I keep watch? And she's like, yeah, you can keep watch unarmed. And he's like, I could, or I could let the next band of outlaws come up and slit your fucking throat. So he goes to Cleos, starts getting the sword. Anyway, Brienne orders him to stop and step away.
And so begins.
And he's just tired of all her shit.
Dance with me then.
Yeah, draws the blade, pivoting as he does so to bring it into a deadly cut. But somehow Brienne gets her sword up to block. And she tells him, give me that sword, Kingslayer. And he says, oh, I will. And he sprang at her.
I love the way that Martin writes this next sequence.
This whole fight is fucking
just
sick.
His learning, the progression of his understanding that she's better than he is.
Yep.
And
the excuses he comes up for at first of like, oh, I'm rusty, I'm shackled. The river run has, turned my wits to shit. But yeah, it's this slow recollection, and it's just so cool of a fight, and he thinks that this is what he's meant for. He never feels so alive as when he's when he's fighting. And with my wrists still chained together, the wench may even give me a contest for a time, is where he's at in the beginning. He rains steel down upon her, and they end up breaking and taking a reprieve, and he tells her not bad, and she says, for a wench, and he says, I'd even say a squire at this point, and then they...
And I think it's funny that, and George obviously highlighted it, I think, on purpose, Jaime stops because he's winded.
Mm-hmm.
She's stone-faced.
Right, it's not until the last engagement where she's, like a good midway through the fight that she starts grunting.
Right, because he's going to stop again here in just a second.
Yeah, and it just kind of breaks down. He couldn't say how long they fight. Time slept when swords woke, and he drove her away from Cleos' corpse into the trees, and Brienne stumbled once, took a knee, but never missed a beat, fighting her way back up to her feet. And again, Jaime is just still not recognizing that. He's still not acknowledging, like, yeah, no, she's fucking got every
tactic,
everything closed off. I can't get to her. The dance went on, and yet somehow he could not reach her. How hard he's trying.
Let me in.
Brienne came at him, and one of her slashes raked down his brow, drawing blood, which ran into his right eye. And he just starts to get pissed, thinking his skills had gone to rot in River Run's dungeons.
His limbs start going numb, and he realizes she's stronger than I am. Yo, he goes through the list of other people that are stronger than himself. Robert Baratheon, Gerald fucking Hightower, Arthur the motherfucking Morning Dane, the living ones. Now this I thought was fucking cool. Great John Umber, who he spent obviously some time with Robb. He had the strong boar of Crake Hall, and both of the Cleganes. And he says, but with speed and skill, I could beat them all.
Yeah.
All of them. He thinks he could beat every one of them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't disagree if I think certain odds are in favor of certain, fighting things, conditions are met. But he still doesn't think that he can beat her.
Right.
Fuck. That's fucking tight, dude.
Buddy, because at the end of that, he thinks, but this was a woman. And that's what it is it may not be even that he's not, because he can't bring himself to. He's not comparing Brienne to these men.
Right, at all.
It's a way of devaluing himself. He's saying, I was stronger than all these men, now I can't even beat a woman. Right. And that's what he's using this as. It's not a recognition of her skill, it's a recognition of his weakness here, and that's the turn. That's Jaime's toxic masculinity that he is holding on to. Is at this point, I can't even defend myself against a woman. It's not. She's woman so knows incredible. What she's doing. She is on the level of Arthur Dayne and Gerald Hightower, because even a weakened Jaime Lannister is still in Jaime's mind, and I'm of mind to believe him that he could beat all these men, and that. So a weakened Jaime Lannister is still no easy task, and Brienne is making it look easy.
Well, and that's the thing, is he's got the experience to support the claim. He's probably sparred with each and every one of them. He knows what they're capable of.
Well, except the living ones.
Well, the living ones, right. And those,
But
brute
he's
strength.
also mainly talking about strength, right? Not skill and speed with the sword.
And saying that he can outclass them because of his speed and strength.
Yeah,
and
his speed and skill,
with the sword, right.
Yeah, it's just such a...
See, and that's he's small enough, unlike the Great John and the Strong Boar, that he's almost got the build of a water dancer. But he still does have strength. He's not just a pushover.
Yeah.
It's just that there's other people that'll fuck him up.
So, yeah, she drove him back into the river, and this is what proves to be his undoing as he slips. A rock slips from under his leg, and he makes a desperation lunge. And his sword, he does have the satisfaction of his sword biting into her upper thigh and seeing the blood blossom there before his knee slams into a rock, and the pain is absolutely blinding, and Brienne kicks his sword away, and they begin wrestling in the brook, the shallow brook. Brienne ends up on top and begins just shoving his head underwater, telling him to yield. He spits water in her face. She shoves him back under, pulls him back up, and tells him to yield or I'll drown you. And he says, and break your oath like me. And she lets go of him with a splash. And I love the conclusion of that fight. Jaime, actually, it says he snarled it at her. Break your oath like me, because he knows her now.
Right.
And
you won't kill me, because then you won't be able to fulfill your oath.
Because then you'll become like me.
Right.
And I'm clearly what you detest. And laughter rang out through the woods. And Brienne immediately jumps up looking shamed, and Jaime thinks that she looks like they've caught us fucking instead of fighting, which I just thought was funny. And Jaime then crawls out of the river, noting that there's armed men lined on both sides. Ruh-roh. Something not good.
Yeah, so he starts shouting out, he pretends like he was I'm sorry, gentlemen, you caught me chastising my wife. And they're like, yeah, didn't look like it. She was kicking the shit out of you, dog.
He's, taking note. He realizes these are not the outlaws that killed Cleos. He realizes who they are. The scum of the earth surrounded them, he says, and then notes that there's Dothraki and Lyseni and Mir.
The bloody fucking mummers.
Yeah. Brienne offers them coin, says they have some silver, and they say that they'll take that, and then they'll be raping her as well. And Rorge, noseless fuck that Arya has dealt with before, is shouted out as just sort of being somewhat in charge, but not quite, and he's kind of leading the aggressive rape talk toward Brienne, being a fuck. Jaime here thinks that Brienne deserves better than being gang raped by this lot, which is just so kind of him.
Yeah, no
like,
shit.
Fuck you.
So we learn that Earthswick is in charge,
commands, yeah,
and he steps forward, and he introduces Jaime, who he's well aware of who he is, to the brave companions.
Yep.
Jaime calls them Tywin's dogs. Not to them, I mean, he thinks it, but...
But Jaime goes to, a Lannister always pays his debts, blah, blah, blah. Brienne is highborn and worth a ransom as well. And then he notes that he just doesn't like the way Earthswick is smiling at him. And...
As for Vargo Hoat.
Yeah. The goat is a few hours away, and he'll be very pleased to see Jaime. And Jaime's like, what is he lord of now? Because there was a lord in front of that style.
Harrenhal. What? Jaime's fucking confused.
Jaime wonders if his father's taken leave of his senses. And so then he's just like, all right, so unchain me. And Earthswick's chuckle was paper dry. And he explains that the brave companions are no longer under the hire of House Lannister. We now serve Lord Bolton and the King in the North. And Jaime...
Oh, shit.
he can't help himself at this point, says, and they say, I have shit for honor. And that doesn't go over well.
Yeah, they kick the shit out of him. And Brienne tries to stop. They kick the shit out of her.
Requires 4 men to beat her into submission, though. And bloody and swollen, Brienne missing two teeth now. They are dragged back through the woods to the horses. And Jaime feels sorry for Brienne for what's in store for her tonight.
He warns her.
Yeah.
You're going to be raped tonight. Repeatedly. Over and over. Best just let it happen. You fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
And she says.
Well, because they're bound back to back and put on the horse, and before they start ruminating there. And Rorge takes Cleos' surcoat, and it's noted that the proud Lannister and Frey quarterings each have an arrow punched through the lion and the
Yeah,
towers
yeah.
alike, which I just like. It's the
too
brave companion serving Bolton, who is in on this alliance, and they're taking the Serco with the two.
Right,
It's just so goddamn much fucking imagery and bullshit here. And then he tells her to just lay there and not resist. And she asks if that's what he would do if he were a woman. And he says if he were a woman, he'd be Cersei, one, and he'd make them kill him. Because, nah. So he calls Urswick and offers gold yet again, saying that Tarth is called Sapphire Isle. And Jaime says that he'll pardon Urswick when all is said and done, get his father to chill. He'll deal with the goat. And Urswick's like, oh, can your father, are his hands so long that he can reach over Harrenhal's walls? And Jaime's like, have you ever heard the song The Rains of Castamere, dude? Like,
we can handle some business.
Yeah.
Just take me down to King's Landing. What do you say?
are you such a fool as to think the goat can outfight the lion? And Urswick leaned over and slapped him across the face.
Casually.
So casual.
Just like,
And it doesn't hurt. It's the casualness of how he does it that stings Jaime, and he realizes he does not fear me. And Urswick tells him, I'd be a fool to believe the promises of an oath breaker like you, and he rides off. That line there, I'd be a fool to believe the promises of an oath breaker like you, sounds like it, to me, is directly relating to Cat. Because who else was foolish enough to believe Jaime Lannister but Cat? And I also think it's interesting that he's directing this to Jaime, but he's tied to Brienne, and so Brienne is hearing it as well.
yeah.
And Catelyn will herself be calling Brienne an oathbreaker, and then making her go get Jaime for breaking this very oath that he was on with Brienne.
Right,
so, like, this Urswick comment felt so fucking loaded to me, to both of them, Brienne and Jaime. And Brienne's hearing it as well, because, again, back to back.
Yeah.
But he thinks, again, it
Yeah.
always came back to Aerys.
Always.
And Brienne turns to him and is like, yo, why'd you tell him that? Sapphire Isle it's called Sapphire Isle because of the blues of its waters.
Yo, you're less likely to be aggressed on if they think you're worth more whole.
Yeah, and then he gets fucking savage and tells her basically to pretend they're all Renly and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Which does get her to shut up for a while, and he thinks mercifully at that. And they find Vargo Hoat sacking a small sept with more brave companions. And this scene, this description of them, like, all over the sept, prying the eyes, gems out and everything, made me think of Dany's vision in the House of the Undying of the gross rat things just humping the land, just like they were like fucking rodents, just scattered and
gross shit.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
And was this the High Sparrow's sept?
Oh, could be. Yeah, the one with the wandering man, the
Maribald.
Yeah, Maribald. There you go. Yeah, maybe. So Vargo sees Jaime rising, declaring him his captive now in his stupid speech, and Brienne shouts, saying that she was ordered by Lady Catelyn, and Vargo just tells Rourke to silence her. So he pulls her down and starts kicking the shit out of her, literally kicking her. And Jaime's pulled down and shoved forward, and thinks that he could grab one of their swords, but he'd die, like, before.
Right.
He could kill a few, but he'd end up dying, and he's not ready to die today, especially not for the likes of Brienne of fucking Tarth. So he'll hold off for now. And he then goes over what he knows of Vargo Hoat and notes the necklace of coins and thinks that greed was the key to this man. And so he tells him, it's not too late. You can rejoin my father. He's forgiving. Because we all know that to be true.
Yeah.
And he would pay well for me, as you would know. And Vargo Hoat says, half the gold in Casterly Rock I shall have. But first, I must send him a message.
What was that?
Must send him a message.
Must send him a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jaime thinks he's bluffing. He doesn't buy it. He's like, yeah, they intend to scare me, but...
Urswick shoves him, and a jester in green and pink motley kicked his legs out from under him. An archer grabbed his chains and yanked his hands in front of him, and a fat Dothraki unsheathed a large curved Arok. And he thinks, yeah, they mean to scare me. The fool hops on his back, and he thinks they want me to piss my pants and beg mercy, but I'm a Lannister, a Lord Commander of the King's Guard. no sellsword would make him scream.
He didn't have time to see the Iraq come down.
He screamed.
And then he screamed. I think he screamed a little different than that, but
I think it was...
Yeah, a fucking end scene, yo.
Yeah, Jaime lost a hand because he's a dumbass who can't keep his mouth shut and read a room. And that's about that.
Right.
You want to feel bad for him because you know that, there is potentially an arc change coming.
Yeah,
but,
as a rereader, we do know that he's got some hope.
But it's still hard to, even in this moment, because he is such a fuck. Like, he's funny, but, like, this chapter especially, he's just kind of, lay there and take your rape. Like,
fuck off,
fuck
dude.
you.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, on that fucking savage note, let's convene our small council and get some inductees going.
Yeah, okay. Hey guys, we're in the small council meeting now.
Now we are, yeah.
We weren't before, but
No.
here we are.
Right.
So, this is like the time, dude.
What?
Do you have your inductee ready?
Yeah.
I don't.
Mine's going to Urswick for that slap. Because it's a fucking moment in the book. It's like, you feel it I did when I was reading it. It was like, oh, fuck. Like, just so casual. Just, no. Shut up, you. Stop your silly words spilling out of your silly mouth. And yeah, I told him, like, fuck you. I'm not dumb enough to believe you. You're fucking Jaime Lannister. Fuck off. And it's, so Urswick, he's a scary scumbaggy dude, but like, goddamn, to put that fear in Jaime is a very interesting thing to do, because this is a man who, by his own boasting, can defeat Gerald Hightower and Arthur Dane and all these badasses.
The Cleganes and
so
Umbers.
Here's this sellsword Urswick slapping him lazily across the face and basically scolding him like a fucking pet. So, Urswick.
Nice. So, mine goes to Jaime's horse, because it took an arrow. It fought against him, but was forced to charge towards Bowman and ran up the side of this hill. And it's just this poor little horse, man. So, we need strong horses like that, even if they are getting ready to kick the bucket. So, I'm going to give it to the horse. We don't give it to many horses these days. And I think that he deserves a spot.
Brienne gets a shout out for having 2 arrows and not giving a fuck.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So we did, of course, get some inductees from you faithful listeners. We have one here from France, from Julian. He says, hey there, fellas. You'll take a bit more Lannister pride, won't you? Well, here it is. We Lannisters are gods. I'm the greatest swordsman ever. Father's gold will save me and turn them back. But truth is, you don't scare them. Brienne might be as good with a sword than you are. And you lost both hands as a first read. You think it might be both. When you didn't believe they'd dare for a second. Sucks to be you today, Jaime. And frankly, this chapter gives an overall taste of you had it coming. The only counter thought is the responsibility of Aerys and his Kingslayer reputation. Apart from that, the only thing to love about Jaime is what we know following the story. Inductee Sandor Clegane, stronger than Jaime Lannister, and with speed and skill, might be better than the Mountain. Clegane Bowl. Have a good day there, Valar Nohandaris. Thank you, Julian.
Nohandaris.
And Sandor's always welcome, because, I would bet Sandor's got that speed and skill over the Mountain. The Mountain's just, although he did scale the outside of the fucking Red Keys, so, I don't know, but hopefully, Clegane Bowl. Cool.
That'll be fun.
Thanks, Julian.
Right, so we also got a raven from way up north at the Dreadfort, and this is Corey writing in with, good evening, gentlemen. One quick note, in Jaime's last chapter, when they finally found a spot to sleep, Jaime noticed how the war didn't touch the area. At the beginning of this chapter, everything is in chaos. Nice little touch by Martin. Has Jaime gone Targaryen mad? Wanting to set up his kids and then charging a bowman unarmed and in chains? Are there any theories that Jaime might be a Targaryen? Or was he just bored and thinking out of his ass? So there's theories that every one of the children, the Lannisters, are Targaryens. There's a secret Targaryen theory for fucking everybody. Theirs wasn't too terribly awful, saying, that similar to Tyrion's theory that Joanna was raped and that's how they were born or some shit like that. But
twins, yeah.
Nothing really believable, but they're out there. I
think it's just Jaime being a fucking...
But yeah, I think he just likes the idea that they could get away with what they wanted and sleep with their sister. So he was just putting them up on the pedestal. Anyway, his inductee is Lady Joanna for temporarily cock-blocking Jaime. I wonder what she would think of her children now if Tyrion didn't kill her. That, my friends, is some savagery from the Dreadfort. Cheers, Corey from the Dreadfort.
Thanks, Corey.
Thanks. Outstanding email. Great inductee. So, fuck, man. If Joanna was around, then that would be pretty fucking wild.
So, Nate also, in the email, likes to tell people we'll shout them out and then not shout them out. So, we're going to do that real quick because we have someone assisting us on curating Spotify. Thought we might have been missing some episodes on there, and we were able to get that fixed up. And so we do want to give a big thanks to XX Nightmare, who gave us an email and just let us know that there was some shit missing on Spotify, so we were able to check and curate that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing in and letting us know shit like that, so that way we can get on it. So that's cool.
We appreciate you.
And yeah, if you guys want to write us in, like everybody that we just did, Julian, Corey, and Nightmare there, you can reach us in many ways that Nate's about to give you right here now.
Yeah, the email is withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. The Facebook.com/brotherhoodpodcast. I'm on Twitter @mannerswithout. Zach is on Twitter @carstark92. We have the Instagram @mannerswithout. And a Patreon if you want to help support what we do here. Patreon.com/withoutmanners. There's some other things. I think YouTube. Check out the YouTube. We get lots and lots and lots of listens over there. Lots of people talking about stuff. Haven and Stephanie and I guess it's
Kojima.
Yeah, if you're listening, Kojima, like big fan of your work.
Big fan of your work.
But like, we appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
He's a little bit behind as well because he's listening to some episodes, a few episodes
But he's
back,
commenting and letting us know his thoughts along the way, so we appreciate that.
Thank you, everyone, for writing in. We appreciate it.
Next episode, we're going to be reading Arya 4 in Storm of Swords.
Fuck, that means we're getting close to another guest episode pretty soon, too. So I got to get my ass in gear for that.
Right.
So you guys can have that
And
coming.
so, yeah, send us in your inductees for Arya 4, and we're just going to keep on chugging away at Storm of Swords.
So the schedule might be popping around weirdly because of the holidays. So don't be
Bear with us there,
too upset. We might, switch to one episode during this week or Christmas week or something like that just because, I got kids that I got to care for, so
yeah,
we'll keep you updated.
Crazy times here in the US of A because people don't want to listen about COVID stuff. So
results.
Back where Nate and I are, we are back into lockdown status, which of course we will happily oblige with, but that is making things a little strained. So things are subject to delay at the current moment until things normalize, and so we ask that you just bear with us for that. We will never give up on the podcast or just stop doing it. You can always expect another episode to be on the horizon, so just so you know, we're never going away for long. It's always just a temporary hiatus if we happen to miss an episode or two because life is crazy at the moment. So
we appreciate you sticking through it all, and
hell yeah.
I believe that's it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Valor to Harris!
Peace.